total domination. The Sixers totally dominated the Washington Wizards Monday night. We'll talk about that next on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On 76ers your first listen. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts every day. So come and join us and make sure you come to Locked On 76ers. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning. $5 money line bet. So basically you get $150 bonus bet with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. Visit FanDuel.com locked on to get started. So what's up, Mitch? How you doing, man?
Keith, I'm good, man. I'm good. Not as good as the 76ers are after that stroll in the park last night, but I'm well, man. How you doing?
It was a stroll indeed. It was a stroll indeed. I'm Keith Pompey, co-host of Locked On 76ers, and here's my partner, John Mitchell, extraordinaire, the other co-host for Locked On 76ers. And he's right. It was a stroll in the park. It was a 146 points to 128 victory. I mean, it was terrible. And when you look at it, Mitch, the Sixers had a season high 37 assists. They had a season high tying 12 steals. The Sixers shot 56% from the field. The Wizards shot 51. But it was one of those things where Joel Embiid put on a show, man. Joel Embiid finished with a season high 48 points. He scored 29 of those points in the third quarter on 10 for 10 shooting. He made all 9 of his foul shots, right?
Right.
But as good as that was, the game was over at halftime.
Yeah.
It was over at halftime. Yeah. And he had 19 points at the half, and then he scored 29 points in the third quarter. Didn't play in the fourth. Mitch, it was total domination.
Yeah, it really was. And you mentioned this often, Keith, that if you're striving to be an elite team, you got to beat up on the bad teams that you see on the schedule. And they did exactly what they're supposed to do. The Wizards are they're hapless. They can't defend. The second time this year, somebody's put up 140 on them. I think Indianapolis put 140 on them in their season opener. And they did what they wanted to. And like you said, it was over. It was over by halftime, and that's the way it should. It should be. You can rest guys. You don't have to extend yourself. You've got a tough game on the horizon, and they pounded Washington. And that's what they're supposed to do. As they become this team that we think that they may become, and as they try to get these new parts together and figure out a rotation. That was the perfect opponent for all those things to be examined.
Yeah, it was. And it was weird. Like I said, Joel Embiid was a beast, man. He did some special things. But I have to be remiss. Like I said, I got to stress, the game was over in the first half, in my opinion. And it was like equal opportunity. Like Nick Batum was hitting threes like they were layups, man. Yeah. Then Tobias Harris was playing bully ball, like muscling dudes to the spot and bloom. Kelly Oubre, they told me he couldn't play defense before he came here, or he didn't want to play defense before he came here. Kelly only shot the ball 5 times, but he was D'ing dudes up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
D'Anthony Melton couldn't buy a bucket the first 5 games. This brother was out there looking like Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a balance. And then your boy Tyrese Maxey was just like slow motion. And then he had 22 points with a career high, 11 assists. Pat Bev was being the leader. They were like, setting guys up. Jaden Springer coming and giving defense. It was, I really like it. But the funny thing is, it tells you, we and you were talking beforehand, and your thing was Joel Embiid could have stayed in and had 60. He could have.
Yeah.
He actually could have. But to me, that team, they dominated that team so much that it really wouldn't have done him or the Sixers any justice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that I guess that's what Wilt Chamberlain must have felt like back in the 1960s, man, just going through teams like butter the way Joel played. And like we were talking earlier, he could have gone for 60, but you have to be smart. You got to be judicious as a coach. There's just no reason to keep him in there. Joel is at the point in his career where he would like to have a 60-point game. But I think he's more so concerned about, he seems mentally just a little more focused this year at what needs to be done. He's got his MVP award. And now he's just like, hey, we took this team out. I mean, that third quarter he had was an all. If in one quarter, that was an all-star. Those were all-star numbers in a quarter for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, it was. And it's funny because since 1996-97 season, there's only been two guys in the NBA who did that. One was Klay Thompson. I believe he had 37 points in the quarter on 13 for 13 shooting. And then the other one was LeBron, who had 24 points on something like that. So, this is a rare company. Now, here's the thing. The stat line that Joel had. Now, Joel finished with, overall, he had 48 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists, right? Mm-hmm. This is the 6th time that he's had a stat line of at least 45, 10, and 5. Now, some people might say, look, he's gunning. The Sixers are 6-0 when he does that. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? So that's saying a lot. Mm-hmm. That's saying a lot right there for him. That's saying a lot. So, big ups to him, props to him, props to the Sixers. And like when we get back after this little break for a little bit, I want to talk about Nicholas Batum. He had it was a crazy couple of days, but he came out, he played well, he did what he had to do. But I want to talk to you about his day when we get back. All right. Okay. Score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, and more. So go visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. So Mitch, Nicholas Batum, Nico, whatever you want to call him, he said I could call him whatever. I wrote in my articles yesterday, I wrote Nick. So I kept it consistent, even though everybody was calling him Nico. But he had a crazy day, like a crazy week. Now, the one thing that I want to stress is that he pointed out that he didn't leave because he was thinking about retirement or he was unhappy. He said he did have a serious family issue that he had to attend to. And there are some things that are more important than basketball, right? So he attended to that. Now, the thing was, it was a crazy week. So they get traded. The trade doesn't become official until Wednesday. But they got the word that the trade was basically agreed upon on Tuesday. He flew from LA, got here 1 something in the morning on a Wednesday, got a little bit of sleep, got up in the morning, took their physicals, did all that they had to do. And then all of a sudden, they go to practice, and then next thing you know, he goes back home and he misses 2 games, right? He shows back up on Sunday. He goes in for a 45-minute workout, like going over the plays for 45 minutes. He goes to yesterday's shoot around, does the same thing. They throw him out there. My man looked like he'd been here for a year. He said he didn't know what he was doing, but he was out there. He had no clue. But he was he made his first 4 shots. First 3 were threes, right? Nice looking shots. One of them rimmed in and rolled around the rim. Right. Then he came in and had like a little, a bucket, another bucket. But he looked well, man. He played well. And the thing is, his presence, you can just see why everybody in the Clippers loved him. Yeah. And why he's such a great teammate. Yeah. I was impressed. I was really impressed, Mitch.
Yeah, I was impressed. You know, he ran to his spaces on the floor. He helped space the floor. And he looked like he fit in seamlessly. He looked like this was like this was not his first game with the 76ers. And, I give him, like you said in your article, Keith, he said, I had some things are bigger than basketball. So when a guy says that, you have to say, okay, yeah, bro, I agree with you. Do what you have to do, handle your business. But it was clear that he was wanting to get here. And it's good to see that he can get out there and fit right into what the 76ers and what Nick Nurse is trying to get done. He bought into the philosophy. He helped move the basketball. Like you said, they had, I don't know how many assists he had, but they had, 37 assists last night?
Yeah, 37 assists. Let me see how many did Nico, Nicholas. Let's see how many did Nick. He didn't have an assist. Okay. But here's the thing. He had 11 points in 17 minutes and 27 seconds. He was a plus 30. Woo! A plus 30. Patrick Beverly was a plus 27 in 11 minutes 36. So it was like, they swung the ball to him, and then all of a sudden, they swung the ball to him, and then all of a sudden, they swung the ball to him, and then all of a sudden, like, it was one of those things where he was just shooting it. Yeah. You know what I mean? He was open. Yeah. I mean, he was open. Like, you got to shoot the ball. Yeah. But he was phenomenal. He, in my opinion, he had a heck of a game. Like, I don't know if I could curse on this podcast, but I want to say the other word. He was phenomenal, man. Yeah. Phenomenal. Yeah. He was big time.
Yeah, and it's good to see that because, again, they're figuring out their depth. I mean, obviously, you don't know what they're going to do with down the road with possible continued trading. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but he is fine. It gives the coach a chance to figure out his depth. Covington, Batum, getting to look at those guys, and particularly in a situation like that where the pressure was, like you said, the game was over by halftime, but he did his work. When it was still relatively competitive, so seeing that from him is a plus, man. Because so many people have looked at the trade and say, well, these are just pieces to make things work. But I think they got some depth now.
Yeah, I definitely think they got depth, and I like it, man. And I'm gonna tell you something, Mitch. and it's still early, so I'm not gonna go away, but vibe around this team is so much better, dude, than ever been before. Like, they got real veterans. I mean, nothing like they started bringing them in, but I'm just saying they got like blue collar dudes who don't care about anything. Role players. And that's the best type of dudes when you got a Joel Embiid and a Tyrese Maxey and a Kelly Oubre. Like those, because they dudes don't want to match them. They just saying, get y'all's. Get y'all's. And Kelly Oubre, for as much as everybody say he a gun, brother man only shot the ball 5 times in 26 minutes, 35 seconds. That was impressive to me.
Yeah.
You know, that was impressive.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I want to talk to you when we get back after this little break. I got to talk to you about Kelly Oubre, because Nick Nurse is saying, like, hey, he might just be a short-term starter. But now Nick is considering keeping him in the starting lineup for the time being. So to me, hey, that, you know, that at first, when you look at it, you say, man, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Like, but Kelly has shown that he can do things, but also I think that has something to do with, now I got Marcus Morris. I know he could come in and get buckets.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So here we go. We spend a lot of time talking together, you and I. We get fired up together on wins and losses, who starts and who sits. I'm thankful that connection we have. And today our chat is a little more personal. I just learned that you can get a 1-year supply of medication. You realize that what that means. Bring on extended travel, bring on the next natural disaster or supply chain issues. You are covered, my friend. You don't have to worry about whether or not you can refill your medication. And this is possible because of our friends at Jace Medical, right? The thing I like about Jace Medical is it's one of those things where they say, Mitch, don't be caught unprepared, right? Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. Jace handles everything from online evaluations to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultant care, right? So what you need to do, y'all, is just go to jacemedical.com, right, and get your Jace case. I mean, Jace Medical is the thing that's really good, and I really like it. It's something that will help you guys out. Now, if you or someone or you love would want some peace of mind of having a supply of any daily meds, go to jacemedical.com to see if this is offered for you. Remember to use the promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your purchase. Now, Mitch, so you and I both said that Kelly Oubre should come off the bench.
Yeah.
But the first 2 games, he had 23 and 25 points in the starting lineup, and the flow didn't miss a beat. Last game, like I said, he had 3 points on 1 for 5 shooting, but he also had a steal. He had a block. He had 5 rebounds, right? In a way, I think Nick Nurse is saying, like, you got to go with what you see. And what we see is he's a solid small forward for the Sixers in the starting lineup. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm still hoping that somebody eventually will place him in the starting lineup, only because I want them to have a decent bench, and I mean, going back to the days of the microwave in Detroit, Vinnie Johnson, you always want to have a guy who can come out, who can bring that energy, who can score for you with the second unit. And I think that Oubre is a guy who will fit better with the second unit, but he's looked good in the starting unit. He gives them, in the first unit, he gives them scores, another reliable score. But like you said, he only took 5 shots last night. He didn't continue to jack shots up, and he made contributions in other places. And I think he's a guy who understands his situation. He's a guy who's playing for another deal. And, in the NBA, you can never undervalue the importance of doing that, So, I think, Nurse is going to tinker with this roster for a minute, because it's new all over again. He's got the 2 mainstays, and he's got some good pieces around them. And but again, I know he's starting for now, but I would prefer, like you have said, to have him coming off the bench, and of course, be extended minute. Perhaps he wins the sixth man of the year. Perhaps it's that type of season for him. You don't know. And if it is, then that just means the team is much better equipped moving forward. Into
I keep going back and forth on. Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry for cutting you off. I mean, I keep going back and forth on it. Like, if Marcus Morris can come off, see, like, it's either you start him or Marcus. Well, you got Nicholas Batum too, but my thing is, it's kind of sort of like if Marcus Morris can be that guy for you, if you feel like he can, coming off the bench, then I understand it, right? But the thing is, when we talked about it now, like before, the Sixers had no depth. Now you look at it, they're a deep team because you got, what you going to do with Nicholas Batum? Like, what you going to do with Robert Covington? You know what I mean? You got Marcus Morris. Now you got Kelly Oubre. Like, these are all guys who could start, man.
Right.
They can start. And no offense. It's like, if whatchamacallit keeps struggling, and he did have a good game, then the question is, like, what is Nick Nurse going to do with him? Talking about DeAnthony Melton.
DeAnthony Melton.
You know what I mean? So, like, they have a lot of options, man. A lot of options.
I think DeAnthony Melton's going to get untracked. I do.
On track?
Oh, my fault. On track. Yep.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I do too, but it's one of those things where the coach has a lot of options, though. A lot.
Right. It's always good to have options, as we know. That's not just a cliche. That's a fact.
Yeah. So, but look, I want to thank y'all for listening, for doing this podcast. You guys need to know that this podcast is free and available wherever you get your podcasts. You can also go to our YouTube channel, and when you go there, click on that Liberty Bell, and then what that does is you become a new subscriber, and you also get notifications whenever we post new YouTubes and new podcasts come out. So do all that. We want you guys to have a blessed Tuesday. Thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow to preview the Boston Celtics game. So come back. This is a barometer game. The Celtics and the Sixers are tied for first place with 5-1 records. So this is going to be a really interesting early season test.
Take the temperature time.
Temperature time. Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
See what you're working with. So this is it. But we want to thank y'all for listening and have a blessed day. Peace.
Thank y'all.